specializations in areas as diverse as aeronautical engineering and aerospace safety, and South Africa's 18 airports forms a major role player for passengers and goods transitioning to and from our country. This is a niche that supports a major component of the country's economy. Automotive studies. The South African automotive industry is projected to grow from 600,000 to 1.4 million vehicles a year in production. There is major potential to be explored in UNISA's commitment to automotive studies. In 2022, students from the Department of Mechanical Engineering participated in the Sasol Solar Challenge with their solar-powered car that travels from Johannesburg to Cape Town without using a single drop of fuel. Energy studies. UNISA's Institute for Development of Energy for African Sustainability specializes in designing chemical processes, reducing material and energy consumption, as well as carbon dioxide emissions. Space studies and Square Kilometer Array. UNISA has been extensively involved in the $1 billion Square Kilometer Array project since 2012. The UNISA Observatory, situated on the main campus, is a modern, well-equipped facility housing a 14-inch telescope where the College of Science, Engineering and Technology offers undergraduate courses in astrophysics and astronomy with specialization up to PhD level. Fourth Industrial Revolution and digitalization. The fourth industrial revolution can be described as the advent of cyber-physical systems involving entirely new capabilities for people and machines. Examples include genome editing and new forms of machine intelligence. The College of Graduate Studies will support and promote studies into 4IR and digitalization, while the Graduate School of Business Leadership presents a short learning program on big data. Natural sciences. The simplest definition of biotechnological studies is applied biology. Through the application of biological knowledge and techniques to develop products or services, UNISA's College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences is one of the main partners in the African Biogenome Project, a coordinated Pan-African effort piloting a project with a key objective of sequencing 100,000 endemic species. Health and/or pharmaceutical studies. The Department of Health Studies is prepared for the challenge of equipping their students with research skills and expertise in the field of health and pharmaceutical studies. The UNESCO UNISA Africa Chair in Nanoscience and Nanotechnology is leading the international research into the nano-delivery of medicinal drugs, including African herbal medicine. The College of Law offers an elective undergraduate model on medical law. Feminist, womanist, Wusadi theorizations. In the College of Human Sciences, the Institute for Gender Studies, the College of Education and the Graduate School of Business all contribute to the interdisciplinary research into eliminating gender-based violence, homophobia and transphobia, and discrimination against women in the workplace and the political arena. The Institute also uses education about gender as an effective way to achieve gender equality and the empowerment of women. Student support and co-curricular activities. UNISA is uniquely placed to offer creative and radically innovative ways of enhancing student support. UNISA's College of Graduate Studies has developed a whole range of training programs to assist and encourage students. The Advocacy and Resource Center for Students with Disabilities promotes the principle of access for success, and the Student Development Division provides students with social support and leadership development services. These niche areas find expression in the rich tapestry of art disciplines included in the College of Accounting Sciences, Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, Economic and Management Sciences, Education, Graduate Studies, Human Sciences, Law, Science, Engineering and Technology, the Graduate School of Business Leadership, and the Thabo Mbeki School of Public and International Affairs. As a comprehensive open-distance e-learning institution, UNISA is recognized as a serious player in research globally. From publication and journal output to the number of master's and doctoral graduates, we are moving forwards and upwards. UNISA has made substantial progress in research and innovation, as evidenced by several external and credible scientific ranking systems, with the latest ones, the 2023 Webometrics and Shanghai rankings, placing us in the top 10 universities in the country. As Africa's leading open distance e-learning university, we can reflect with great pride on the past 150 years of transformational education, and we are confident in our ability to succeed and become a truly high-performance university as we define tomorrow.
Good morning, colleagues. Morning, students. I'm just checking if I'm audible. Oh, okay. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, distinguished guests, and our amazing UNISA students. My name is Felicity Mlina, and I'm a TCGP here at UNISA Sunnyside campus in the counseling unit. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the 2026 UNISA Accounting Professionals Workshop. I'm not alone today. I have my wonderful co-host with me, Smakaleng. Smakaleng, please take a moment to briefly introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, colleagues and students. My name is Smakaleng Mamiela. I'm a student here at UNISA at the College of Science, Engineering and Technology, and I'm also a mentor on the 2026 mentorship program. And I will be co-hosting today's session, and I will take over the facilitation later in the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Smakaleng. It's always good to have someone keeping me on track because I tend to get a bit excited and I forget about the program. So before we start, ladies and gentlemen, we have a few house rules. Students will remain muted throughout the session. We love enthusiasm, but we do not like back noise, right? So make sure that wherever you are, there's no noise. Please use the emoji reaction especially the clapping of hands to show appreciation or the heart to show some love. Now let's try to actually do it. All right. So can I get a clap of hands first so we see that we are all tech savvy? Okay, can I get some love? All right, thank you so much. If you enjoy humor, just like me, you can drop a laughing emoji there. But we don't want a comedy show on the chat. So during our question and answer session, you may raise your hand to speak or you may type. We want to hear from you, whether it's your voice or your typing skills. Please keep the environment respectful and professional. Think of boardroom vibes, ne? But a bit friendlier. Students are kindly requested to keep all questions relevant to the workshop. Ne? We don't want to hear about NSFAS, my registration. This is strictly about accounting. Also, please note that this session is being recorded and it will be posted on YouTube. So today's your moment to shine. So shine. Moving along, I have a couple of announcements to make. So tomorrow we'll be hosting the Accounting Employability Seminar. So if you haven't registered yet, please do register so you don't suffer from FOMO. Ne? We don't want anyone to miss out anything. I know the 80s are not going to get this one, but FOMO stands for fear of missing out. Also on the 23rd at the main campus, we have our career day. So we would like to see you there. We believe that it's going to be very beneficial for accounting students where you'll get to mingle and chat with people of various companies. All right. Um, mm. So I just got a message now stating that the dean will only be available in 5 minutes. You know, it's so difficult working with academics. You always have to try to wait for them to complete whatever they're busy with. But for now, I'll just mute and then we'll wait for the dean to join in 5 minutes. Okay, so apparently the dean has joined. So, Dr. Hlungwani, I hope you're here. So he's here to officially open our program and to share the purpose of the day. Please help me welcome the Executive Dean of the College of Accounting Science, Dr. Moses Hlungwani.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, program directors, May Felicity Mqina and Ms. Makaleng Mamaila. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I think I have a presentation to flight. Is it safe for me to project?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me also, before I start, let me tender my apology also that I am attending another function on the other side. So you will see me disappearing. Please bear with me and accept my apology. And also for joining a little bit late is because I was still finalizing my other role in that function. So without wasting time, Program Director, it is very important that I acknowledge yourself and your co-program director, Makaleng Mamaila. I would also want to acknowledge all our presenters who will be presenting during the course of this workshop. Ms. Megan, who will be dealing with the data profession as a data strategist. Ms. Godelive Mutija, tax practitioner. Mr. Malibongwe Majombozi, the profession as a chartered accountant. Ms. Rendani Mavungo, profession as an auditor. Mr. Zwelake Kwebu, a profession as a management accountant, and also the manager in the project office, Mete Fato Sebiela. And then I know we had a facilitation from Menza Komhlaba, our marketing and communication. Lastly, let me also acknowledge Dr. Pitswani, who will also be closing our function or our project. Without wasting any time, but let me also greet all of you and acknowledge the presence of our academics who are present in this platform, the presence of our important stakeholders, the students, the presence of other colleagues from other departments, other directorates. Let me welcome you to this important workshop, and I'm quite sure that we will get the benefits that is intended to us. Just to take you through the College of Accounting Sciences. The College of Accounting Sciences is one of the 8 colleges of the University of South Africa. We have 2 schools, the School of Applied Accountancy and the School of Accountancy, with over plus minus 37,000 registered students, with 240 staff members, both academics and administrative. The School of Applied Accountancy has got 2 departments, the Department of Financial Governance and the Department of Financial Intelligence. The School of Accountancy has 4 departments, the Auditing, Financial Accounting, Management Accounting, and Taxation. Then we also have the Research and Postgraduate Studies Department, the Teaching and Learning, Quality Assurance, Special Projects, and then we offer over 20 registered and accredited formal qualifications, from higher certificate to masters and PhDs. And then we also have SLPs, the short learning programs. So that's the overall overview of the College of Accounting Sciences. Let me also say that as the College of Accounting Sciences, we recognize that education is not solely about acquiring knowledge. It is about cultivating critical thinking, problem-solving abilities, and resilience in an ever-evolving world. And at UNISA, we empower our students with the resources and opportunities they need to transform their lives and achieve excellence. We are aware of persistent social challenges that plague our nation and the world. The effects of poverty, inequality, unemployment, crime, racism, sexism, and gender-based violence. And it is our duty as universities and global society to contribute meaningfully to addressing these issues. Let me just a little bit take you through the history of accounting. Why I chose this topic, it's because the workshop today, it's on accounting professionals. As highlighted in this slide, that the double entry system, it was born and in 1494 by Pacioli. And this layout, or the double entry system, lay out the debits and credits, the journals and the ledgers, and the balancing. And it enabled the accuracy, or to achieve the accuracy and to detect fraud and business accountability, and supported the growth of international trade during the Renaissance. So why I'm displaying this is for us to be able to differentiate between what the skills, or the skills that were needed in those periods, and the skills that are needed in this current era, and also what the future of accounting actually has for us. Now, looking at the most critical skills, or the critical trends and opportunities in the field of accounting, currently, we are talking about big data, data analytics and forecasting tools, mobile technologies, automated accounting processes, cloud computing platforms, blockchain, forensic accounting, and so forth. And now it is very important that our skills, or the skills that we acquire currently, are in line and addresses the challenges that we actually facing currently. All those challenges that I've highlighted when I started my presentation. Now, the skills that one would want to access, obviously, from our professional bodies, all professional bodies, they have the competency frameworks that we need to adhere to. Technical skills that we must have or achieve on graduation. Our various presenters that I've introduced to you, they will be presenting on all these technical skills that we need. Most importantly, as a professional, you must be ethical, and communication skills, also relational skills, are also very important. Digital skills, managerial skills, critical thinking, and decision-making skills. So all these skills are very important for us to be able to confront the challenges that we are facing in this era that we are living in. The program director, in her opening, she highlighted that there will be an employability seminar taking place tomorrow. And this is also, it's part and parcel of our efforts as the institution to make sure that we equip our students with all the skills and the knowledge to make sure that when they graduate, they are employable by both the industry, not only employable, but they can also be employers by creating employment for other job seekers. So by so saying, program directors, let me thank you for giving me the opportunity. Let me thank you for allowing me to address our important stakeholders, and wish you a very fruitful workshop throughout the day. As I've already mentioned and apologized in advance that I will be joining the other workshops, but I will also be continuing and joining you as time allows. So thank you so much. May I wish you well. May I wish our students fruitful day and a fruitful workshop, and also wish them the future or the bright future ahead of them. Thank you so much. And bye.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hlongwane, for those inspiring and motivating open remarks and taking time from your busy schedule to welcome our students. I hope now everyone is fully awake and inspired. So we are now going to begin with our speaker program. So our first speaker is the incredible Miss Gavenda. So she's Miss Megan Gavenda, a seasoned data strategist and senior data scientist who specializes in turning complex data into actionable business and customer insights. Megan has a background in chemical engineering and has worked across many industries, including financial services, retail, telecommunications, and mining. She leads projects in machine learning-based customer segmentation, digital transformation, and campaign optimization. What I personally find inspiring about Megan is her passion for human-centric data, using analytics not just to understand numbers, but to understand people, which is great because as accounting students, we know numbers can sometimes feel like they have their own personality. She has an impressive ability to build technical insight and real business impact. So students, kindly help me in welcoming Miss Megan Gavenda.
Hi everyone, sorry, I was just trying to find the mic. I'm guessing we're not doing cameras, Felicity?
Anything works. If you're comfortable in showing your face, it's okay.
Okay, I think for the intros, I just want to bring myself up, and then I think I'll switch off after. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much for that intro, Felicity. And hi, everyone. So, yeah, I'm Megan. I am currently a senior data scientist in the banking space. And as my profile and bio mentioned, I've moved between industries. So, starting off as a chemical engineer. And I think that's ultimately the point that I want to land here is that just because you studied something doesn't necessarily mean that you need to stay in that field. The job market is so dynamic and it's so open that you ideally identify what path you want to take, and then set that tone for how you get there. So yeah, I studied chemical engineering and then I moved into the data space because that's ultimately what I wanted to do. And a lot of it came from all of the different concepts that we had to deal with in the engineering space, which involved the accounting aspect, it involved the market analysis, it involved all of these different things, which then helped us with this problem solving aspect. And so that's what data science and data strategy ideally then speaks to, is how do you then leverage the data components that you've got into creating the story that you then communicate to your different stakeholders. And so that's how I found myself in the data strategy space. And I just want to bring up a presentation. I wanted to make this very interactive, get everyone's thoughts on what it is that I ideally do, because also it's not pretty straightforward. So just with a couple hands, raise of hands, does anyone have an overview of what data strategy looks like without reiterating what I've said? You can type in the chat as well. I think that also works. No one? Okay. Okay, no, that's cool. I see everyone saying no idea. All right, cool. Then I guess that also sets the tone for what this will then focus on. So I'm actually going to bring up a presentation, which is going to help me explain this. So let me know once you guys can see. I see someone's hand is up. Tabane?
Tobari, I've given you speaking rights, so you can just unmute if you have something to say.
Hi, morning. I wanted to comment on that question where the Ms. Lavender was asking about what is data strategy and what is data strategy. Should I go on or should we continue the session?
No, please go on.
I think data strategy is how the company or the data scientist interprets the data that is received from customers' buying power and which of the goods that are buying more. So I think the data, the person who is involved in that thing is the one who must interpret those findings to the business that they are currently doing or currently involved in. So I think that's the pretty much idea of data strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great explanation. I saw Brittany's hand was also up.
Good morning. I think being a data strategist would be meaning that you are problem solving. So basically, just trying to bridge the gap between the markets and like all data that involves the business that management should be aware about.
Well, yes, I also like that. That's a great explanation, and I think that also segues into what I want to bring up now, which is covering some of those elements that you guys just mentioned. Thank you so much, Tabani and Brittany, and also to the guys that also popped in the chat. So, oh, Brian, I see your hands up as well. You can also go ahead, and then we can just move into the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much. According to me, the data strategy is maybe a person who's collecting data and storing it, and also making sure that data is well secured and be able to interpret according to the needs of the company, making sure that you align that data with the needs of the company. In short, I can say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so those are all some of the components that make up data, but that's at an earlier stage. And so we don't necessarily deal with that. And I saw there was also a comment around compliance and data quality and data security. So those are all very important, but that's at a secondary, or that's at the initial layer. And so, in order for us to then get to a point of implementing a particular strategy or even solving that problem, we need to ensure that the quality is correct, the data quality is correct, it meets compliance standards. There is enough protection because we are dealing with a lot of customer data to some of the points that were raised, and that is sensitive information. But also from a company perspective, you also don't want to put out data that is going to jeopardize the company. And so that's where some of the things then come in. And so can you guys see my screen? Is it up, Felicity? You can just give me a heads up.
Yes, it is.
So cool. So what effectively this is telling us is that data strategy sits at the heart of analytics and business, which is then where we get this whole data strategy component. And to some of the points made, it's just simply taking the analytics component of it and the business component, and then seeking to solve some of the business problems, bearing in mind that there is already an underpinning strategy that businesses want to achieve and solve for. And so we then take those numbers and translate that into a story that then makes it easy for business to then relate to and take decisions thereof. So we're bridging this gap that currently exists between technical skills and business skills to then ensure that concepts are easily understood. So some of the skills that are then required is data modeling, which is a subset of you knowing how to code. So whether you know how to code in SQL, Python, R, and all the many languages that exist, what you would do with that is then write your script, come up with whatever it is that you need to do, and analyze that data. So there's a layer of analysis that will then tell you why something is happening. And then what you would then do is then create something that will tell you what needs to happen thereof. And that's where the data modeling component also comes in. And so financial modeling also is, as much as we don't necessarily do hectic financial modeling, but because you need to understand financial concepts, and I think this is where it's great from an accounting concept, is knowing why certain revenue trends are happening, and that's market data and economics. But understanding why revenue changes, why costing changes, how the financial implications then come in from a data perspective before you implement a particular recommendation, and what is considered in the business world business casing is where this financial modeling concept is important. And then also for us, because we are I realize I spelled visualization wrong, but visualizations are very important because data storytelling, at the heart of your strategy sits your data storytelling. So as much as I want to convey a message and there are all these fancy numbers, it's relative to who you're talking to. And so understanding who you're talking to and the idea that you want to communicate then comes in with all of these visualizations and the story that you then want to enunciate. So from a practical perspective, it's then looking at, as I mentioned, it's understanding the problems and the business objectives relative to that problem. And then from there, you would need to determine the data requirements. So sitting in whatever industry you are, you have multiple data sources that you can look into. At that point in time, when you're determining the data requirements, that's when your data quality, your data security, all of those things then come in to say, can I access this data? Firstly, do I have the correct access requirements? If it's something that I can't access, are there any other forms of data that I can use to then do that? What are the compliance policies around me accessing this data and then using this data for creation of a model, etc. And then also looking at the quality. So from a quality perspective, if I look at, for example, age, if I look at age as an example, am I able to see the accurate age of a customer? So is it showing me that a customer is 18 years old, or is it showing me an outlier where a customer is 150 years old? And it's possible that there may be someone who's 150 years old, but does that practically make sense? And what are the necessary precautions then when the data quality is at risk? What do you do, and how do you then solve that problem? So that then comes in at your first layer, which is your data requirements layer. And what we call that in the data world is called the exploratory data analysis phase. And so there you are just trying to understand the data and what the data does. Then where the strategy component then comes in is at the later part of it, where you are now actually solving the problem. And so you then take all of the data pieces that you have and you start to then create the story, which tells us what is happening, why it's happening, what we do next. And that's where you get to your recommendation part, which is ultimately the strategy part. So what I did here was I put a practical example of something that we would potentially look into to then determine how we then go about talking to these cohorts of customers. So business came to us and they said, okay, look, from the dashboards, what we're seeing is that there are declines, sharp declines happening with our sales, and we don't know what's contributing to those declines. What we want to know is how do we offset that decline by increasing our sales, and whether it's increasing it by twofolds, whatever, they would tell you. Cool. So now you have a metric that you're working towards, and you know that this is what I need to do. Some of the things you would then look into is at a sales, because you just know that sales have declined, you would then need to go look into the sales data and see when exactly the decline started to happen. Was it because we said past 3 months, but what happened prior to that versus what is currently happening? And the sales data will tell you that. You then zoom in from the sales data, looking into product data. If you've got a diverse product perspective, in this case, I looked at dairy products. So now they've got 4 dairy products that they're putting out to the customer base. How did that then contribute to the sales declining? Then it's zooming in. Now, from a customer perspective, and this is where it becomes very important, because cool, sales declined, the products are showing certain behaviors, but we need to understand how that relates to the customer. There's no point in me saying that the cheese declined and then that's all I know, and I don't know which customer it declined for, because maybe one customer didn't buy cheese that month, and now everybody's losing their minds because one customer didn't buy cheese. But when we start bringing in the customer data, we then understand who is not buying cheese and who is actually showing a preference for it. But ultimately to that, what I find very important is market data, because yes, going back to the cheese component, is the sales of cheese decline. So less people bought, or lower volumes of sales because of maybe it's only repeat customers that are coming in, so we're not acquiring new customers. What actually happened in the market? Was there a new cheese that was introduced, as an example? Or was there a cheese that was imported that, stopped? There was, because of the war, as an example, that's happening. Now people can't import this particular cheese because fuel prices, etc. So all of that then comes in, and now you've got a story to tell. What you would then do is you would put all of these things, determining how you would do it is you would put all of this into a model, as an example. Not necessarily, because models also take a while to build, but let's assume we have a model. And then we've fed this model with everything. And then the output then gives us a bar graph, and now you don't know what to do with it. And that's where your story then comes in. Now you would then tell the story, knowing that you've seen what happened with the sales data, you've seen what happened with the product data, you've seen your customer data, you've taken into consideration what's happening in the market. And then now, using your prediction model output, you are then able to say, okay, so yeah, cool, cohort 3, not a fan of cheese. Cohort 3 is also not a fan of ice cream. But cohort 3 actually is big fan of chocolate and big fan of milk. So instead of us going to this cohort and saying, buy cheese, buy ice cream, let's not talk to them about that and let's try and increase our sales for milk and chocolate. What we would also then need to go into and see is if for this ice cream piece, was there a particular brand of ice cream that they were not excited about? And that's maybe why that declined the sales. So there's all these layers that then come in that then help you define what strategy you want to look into and how you then go about solving it. But at the back of it, it's always going to be something that is data led. So it's not you deciding because you woke up today and you want to make the cheese the best thing in the world that you want to focus on cheese. The data told you that cheese is good for cohort 1, and therefore let's try and increase that and make it better. Or because we want to drive sales for this, we now want to understand, we want to zoom into this cheese component, and then we want to say, for cohort 2, where cheese doesn't seem to be that much of an issue, how do we then drive those sales up? And then that's going into the cheese itself and saying, these are the different cheeses we're selling, focus on this one, drive the sales for this cohort. So I said a lot, and I'll stop there. Does that make sense? Do you guys have an understanding of what it is that we do and how it practically then comes into play? I see thumbs up. Okay, let me stop sharing. I see a hand. Yes, I see many hands. Helen?
Sorry, Megan. Sometimes the students tend to raise their hand when they're trying to clap their hands. So we're not sure. We're not sure if these are actual hands or they're trying to clap hands. But thank you so much. Because of time, we're just only gonna allow 2 students to ask questions. So kindly make sure that if you are raising a hand, you are raising a hand. If you are clapping, you are clapping. I see Brittany. Brittany, do you have a question? So I allow you to speak.
Oh, yes.
Sorry about that. Yes, you may go ahead.
Oh, okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. I just have 2 questions. Number one is because of my undergraduate knowledge so far and looking how I might be interested in like being a data strategist one day, I just want to ask, like, how does one acquire the skills required, like data modeling, financial modeling, and like coding and all those things from an undergraduate level or rather postgrad or anything? Is there any like postgrad courses that I can take or rather boot camps that I can equip myself to enter that field of work from being an accounting undergraduate student? And then my second question is, I understand what the role of a data strategist is, but it's very hard for me to distinguish it from the role of a management accounting. So even if that question could be answered later because someone is coming, that's okay.
Okay, cool. I'm not sure if there is someone who's going to cover management accounting, but I think, yeah, that's actually a very good point. And I saw someone asking the question around data strategy versus consulting. So it's effectively a consulting position, and I think because I started in consulting, like it became very easy for me to grow into the role. Different companies have it as different positions. So you'd find that in some cases, a product manager or customer value proposition manager then look into this data strategy component. So it really is just saying that it's someone who can take data and derive insights and translate that. So you can honestly go into consulting and grow in that role, or you can go into data science and grow as a data scientist, but become less of a technical data scientist and marry the business components. But to answer what qualifications you would need, so as I mentioned in the beginning, or even my bio, so I'm a chemical engineer. I don't have any data, I don't have a data background. But how I sort of moved into the data space was in my third year, when I discovered the world of AI and data. I started doing courses on Code Academy. I don't know if it's still in existence, but even on LinkedIn Learning and on Udemy, etc., they've got these boot camps, data science boot camps. They've got SQL boot camps. So I started learning Python. And then what was nice was because part of the chemical engineering degree, you get to code. So I was able to brush up my skills there, but coding is not the big thing. The big thing for us as data strategists is being able to talk about the data. It doesn't matter if you can code. You can write the base code and not be able to translate that data into insights, and that would then sort of, it's not going to give you any weight because now everyone's sitting in that room and they're like, I don't know what you're saying. So what you would need to do is ideally brush up on your data understanding, but more so on your insights piece. And that only comes from gaining business acumen, which you would get from reading, etc., and maybe economics. If you can do a course on economics, because economics is a big part of our world. Yeah, that's, I guess, it. I don't know if there's anything else. And I don't know if that answers the question, but in a nutshell, what I'm effectively saying is if you are studying a certain thing and you want to get into this world, the best way to do it is a bunch of short courses. Whether you're doing it on Udemy, whether you're doing it through UNISA, etc., just have some background in data because that gives you weight that you can code essentially, or you can understand data, and then also brush up on your business knowledge so that you have an understanding of it. Does that answer your question, Brittany?
Oh, yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There was another hand up.
I think it's 8 there. I've given you speaking rights. You may unmute and speak. Okay, I think maybe we can pass it to Helen.
Hi.
Hi, Helen.
I wanted to ask, when you talk about being a data scientist, like, does that relate only to like the financial aspect of business, or does that go into other functions like HR? I don't know, just other functions, or does it just focus on maybe finance?
So it's cross-functional, right? So data science can apply to, depending on the scope of the work, it can apply across every function that exists within the organization. So if you go into HR, that's people analytics. I sit in customer and marketing analytics. So different layer of data science and different layer of analytics that go into the HR component. There are there are data scientists that sit in risk, as an example, and their role is to ideally predict what, from either internally or externally, is how does the customer's risk appetite look like, or how does the business's risk appetite look like, and what are some of the risks that could, a business could fall into if they were to go a certain way. So ideally, it depends on what the role is asking for. For the most part of it, a lot of us sit in a customer-centric role because that's ideally where businesses have gone. But there are certain industries that look at people analytics as a function, or workforce analytics. There are other functions that look at learning and development, where you are effectively predicting where your workforce should ideally focus their skill development, etc. So it really does depend.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. I know we said 2 questions. Is that it? I think I'll just pop or answer some of the questions in the chat, and if there are any other questions, they can be sent to me directly, and I'm comfortable to take them. Oh, thanks.
I think that's what's gonna work
Yeah,
best. Yeah. Thank you so much, Megan. Yeah, I'm amazed actually. I'm actually afraid of Microsoft Excel, and here you are majoring in data. What a beautiful and informative presentation you had there. And yeah, hopefully our students have learned a lot on data analysis and data strategy. So thanks once again.
Thanks, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move to our next speaker. I will have her unmute because I usually get a bit offended when people call me Felicia instead of Felicity, or call me Facility, or those weird names. So I get her name correctly. So can Miss Mutiji, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, or
Morning,
Mutuji.
Felicity. It's
Morning, how are
actually
you?
Mutija.
Mutija. How
Yes,
do I
and
pronounce your name?
it's Godleave.
God live. Okay.
Yes.
So let me introduce you, okay?
Thank you.
Right? So our next speaker is Miss Godlive, an exceptional taxation lecturer and a tax practitioner with an extraordinary academic track record. Godlive completed her master's in taxation at the University of Pretoria, graduating cum laude. And her honors in taxation at UCT, also with distinction, where she graduated first in her class. Her academic excellence speaks for itself. Clearly, passing was never part of the plan, it was excelling. Professionally, she trained at KPMG as a trainee tax consultant, gaining exposure to complex tax matters and advisory work. Today, she lectures at the tax faculty, where she is dedicated to shaping the next generation of tax professionals. Godlive is deeply passionate about tax education and hopes to pursue a PhD to further merge taxation and learning. Proof that tax can actually be exciting. Yes, I said it. Please join me in welcoming Miss Godlive.
Morning, everyone. So I just want to double check that you guys can hear me and you can see me. And I'm going to share my screen with you now. So just want to double check that my screen is sharing, the correct screen is sharing. So you guys can see my presentation. It starts with a career in tax. So you guys can just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you can see my screen or not. Okay, perfect. So she said everything about me, guys. I hope you guys are awake because we're about to speak about the best career that you could have. Today, we're going to speak about taxation. We're going to speak about how do you get into taxation, what type of careers can you look at in taxation, as well as why taxation. Okay, so before we even start this session, right, we need to understand what is tax. Because remember, guys, at the end of the day, the government uses taxes to do what? The government uses taxes in order to fund education, healthcare, infrastructure, defense, social grants, etc. So can you guys see how important it is for taxes to work correctly in a country? And now do you see why it's important to have someone that knows how taxes work in your business? Which is why I'm saying tax is one of the most important careers one can go into, because almost every single company needs to have a tax person. Every single individual needs to have someone that does their taxes if they're not able to do their taxes. So it's literally a career where there's endless possibilities as well as endless job opportunities, because it is something that helps a country run, which is why I get so excited about tax, because a country cannot run without it. You guys know that saying that goes, the only thing certain in life is death and taxes. So, which is kind of why I wanted to go into tax. It's something that's always changing. It's something that's never going away. And it's something that's always going to challenge you. Okay, so let's look about why someone would go into a career in taxation. So as you guys can see, I already spoke about high demand because you literally need to have a tax person in every single sector. We're also looking at how the fact that tax is recession proof, guys. So if we think about me saying tax is recession proof, what does that mean? It means that I'm saying regardless of how the economy is looking, there is always going to be taxes. Taxes always have to be filed. Taxes always have to be paid. Tax is not going anywhere. It is a future-proof career, okay? Then we're going to be looking at, there's a bit of a competitive remuneration, just because, like I said, there are a lot of different careers in tax and a lot of different options that you have, as well as intellectual challenge. As you guys can see, I love a little bit of an intellectual challenge, and tax is always changing. Tax is so complex. I don't know if you guys, a lot of you have been exposed to the tax legislation and you see how difficult it is to read the legislation and how precise the wording is. I kid you guys not, this is a career that you will never get bored in. I promise you. Okay. Then we're going to look into some global opportunities, right? So in terms of tax, what is very nice is learning to read the tax legislation is a skill. So you're able to learn a skill and then you're able to transfer it to another country. So you would be able to take what you've learned in South Africa and go learn the legislation in another country, which is also quite interesting. Or you could go into international taxation. And what's nice about international taxation is you'd still be working with South Africa, but you'll be looking at how does South Africa affected by other countries and how are other countries affected by South African taxation. And lastly, guys, you're going to be making quite a bit of an impact, especially in South Africa, something like we have so many small business corporations that are struggling with how to do their taxes, and we have such a growing economy. So it would be really good to go into taxation and help these types of companies because, like I said, tax grows our economy. So it's a very important element of a company. I see someone made a comment. She speaks very fast. Oh, sorry, Laura. I will slow it down a little bit for you. Okay, so you guys noted that I said there are many branches of tax. And this is why I love tax so much because, guys, you cannot get bored because there are so many different branches that you can move into over the course of your career. You could spend 5 years in individual taxes and then decide, you know what, I actually want to go into value-added tax. And then you could move into value-added tax. Because remember, let's take a step back. I said to you guys, tax is a skill, right? It's a skill that we learn. We learn a skill. How do we read the legislation? How do we interpret case law? It's a transferable skill. So what's nice about tax is if you start in individual taxes, it doesn't mean that that's where you're going to stop. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys a bit of examples of the different places that you guys can go in terms of tax. So we have individual tax, we have corporate tax, we have international tax, where you're going to look at cross-border transactions and transfer pricing. We also have dispute resolution, we have value-added tax, we have excise duties, we have transfer duty, and we have mining tax. So I wanted to take a step back and I wanted to ask you guys, in your everyday life, and you guys can type it in the chat box, in your everyday life, where have you guys seen taxes in your life? Have you seen it when you go shopping? Have you seen it if some of you are actually working in your salaries? Have you actually been exposed to taxes as a student? That's something I'm very interested to know. You guys can type in the chat box. You can give me a thumbs up. You can give me a thumbs down if you haven't been exposed to taxes. And if you haven't, this is just the beginning. I kid you not. So I see, Brittany, you said that you have been exposed to VAT and pay as you earn. Okay, that's great. I'm trying to read the... I lost the chat. Yes, so yes, guys, exactly. So a lot of you pay VAT. So that is something that almost everybody in South Africa is exposed to because you're paying VAT on what you're consuming. So just wanted to take a step back and go back to dispute resolution, just to get you guys a little bit excited. Can you guys imagine reading the legislation and telling SARS that they are incorrect in their interpretation? So if you're someone that's like me and you're someone who likes to argue and you're someone who likes to learn something, learn it well, and show the person who is putting the rule in place that they have not done it correctly, dispute resolution is for you. It's a really interesting space. You're looking at SARS audits, you're looking at objections, you're looking at possibly going to the tax court. So if you are someone that has a little bit of a law background that doesn't know if you have a space in tax, I kid you guys not, you can go into dispute resolution, for example. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I wanted to take you guys through the different careers that some can go through in terms of tax. Remember, guys, these are not the only ones that exist, but these are the most common ones that you'll see. So you guys can see that we have a tax consultant, we have a tax lawyer, and for example, a tax compliant manager. So in terms of the three different branches, you can see that under tax consultant, you're looking at advising clients on tax planning and strategy. You're going to work with different clients. You're going to prepare and submit tax returns. You're going to interpret and apply legislation. But then we're going to look at a tax lawyer. Can you guys see with a tax lawyer, that's where we're looking at a little bit of a law background, because now we're looking at why does the legislation say and? Why does the legislation say or? What does the word mainly mean? Does mainly mean 50%? Does it mean 51%? So tax lawyers is where you get very technical and you go into the meaning of words, why the word was used, and we're going into legal structure and litigation. So as you guys can see, you're going to represent clients at SARS, you're going to handle complex tax structures, and you can also draft opinions and legal contracts. And then we're looking at someone who is a tax compliance manager. So it's exactly in the word compliance. So you're trying to ensure that the organization that you work with is fully tax compliant. So you're going to be looking at what have they been doing in the past? Have they been compliant in the past? What are we doing currently? You're going to report to senior management about where there are areas of risk or not. You're going to manage all your tax filings and deadlines, as well as you are going to be speaking with SARS. And sometimes when you are a tax compliance manager of a company that is in-house, you will be potentially speaking to the big fours, for example, your PwCs, your KPMGs, where, for example, the tax consultant or the tax lawyer works, where you need to get more information from them. So you guys can see, whenever you think of tax, I don't want you to think that there's only one thing that you can do. There's so many things that you can do within tax. You can do compliance. If you like numbers, you can do tax calculations. If you like writing, you can go into opinion writing. It's a very diverse space, as well as you guys have seen. The legislation is so diverse. There's so much in the legislation. There's so much to learn, and it's never ending, I promise you. So it's either you become a specialist, or if you're not a specialist, there's something that you're constantly going to be learning every day. So that takes it back to me telling you guys, you will never be bored in tax. I am never bored in tax. I teach tax and I learn something every single day. I am always on my toes. So that's what I love the most about being someone that's in taxation. Okay, so I thought it would be great to speak to you guys about your path to being a tax advisor, because a lot of us know actually how to become a chartered accountant, the CASA. But a lot of people don't actually know that tax has its own designation and it's with site, right? So basically what happens is you go and you get an NQF level 8. So an NQS level 8 is an honors degree or a postgraduate diploma. So that's what I did. So I did my honors degree at UCT. And then after that, I went to do my site articles with KPMG. So then what happens is at KPMG, I only did my articles for 2 years, but there are different companies that do it for 3 years. Typically, site wants you to be there for 3 years. And you find a workplace provider and you're going to go do a logbook. So in your logbook, you're just basically writing down everything that you've done and you're going to send it to your manager, and your manager is going to give you feedback. So they're going to say, yes, Godlieve did amazing in the tax compliance work. However, she needs to work a little bit in the advisory. I'm going to give her a 3 out of 5 and a 4 out of 5 for the other work. So basically, you end up working in a tax environment, but you are logging down all of the work that you do. Because remember, at the end of the day, we want to see, are you a well-rounded tax professional, right? The other thing I want to remind you guys of is that when we're looking at trying to get a place to do your articles, especially if you're going into the tax advisor route, remember that you don't only have to do it at the Big Four. There are different places that do you being able to do TASA that are not the Big Four. So if you don't get into a Big Four, please don't only apply at Big Fours, because there are lots of different companies that do it as well. Okay, so then you're going to work for 3 years at this company, and you're going to do your work, you're going to do your logbook, and as soon as you're done with your logbook, you're going to go and you're going to write your board exam. So essentially, your board exam is where they're going to test, do you actually understand what you're doing? Can you apply yourself? And you're going to end up writing 2 papers, right? Now, after you pass your board exam, that is when SITE gives you a discharge letter, and that's when you can go and apply and receive your designation, and that's when you can become a TASA, and then you can apply for a tax practitioner number. And what's really nice is once you have a tax practitioner number, you are able to do taxes on behalf of people, and you get a number which shows that you are connected to SITE. So I just want to pause there and just look at a few of your questions. So I see someone said, does taxation fall under SICA? So yes, one of the topics, or let me call it a module, one of the modules that you do under SICA is taxation. So I know you do 4, I believe, or it's 3. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of them is taxation. So yes, you can also go through the CA route and still come into taxation if that's something that you want to do. Then I see someone said, can someone apply for site training with financial accounting postgraduate diploma? So in terms of looking at site, you would have to go onto the website to see the specific requirements. I do know that they say that when you're looking at an honors degree, it has to be an honors degree in either taxation, accounting, or law. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are the main things that your honors degree has to be in. Okay, so I see someone said, if I want to be a tax consultant, which path do I have to follow? So again, it isn't a straight path. So it depends on what you're studying. So I will say the one thing that you need to make sure is you do have tax as a subject, at least in 3rd year. And if you are going to do your CA route, finish your CA route and then try become a tax consultant. Or what you could do is finish your undergrad in finance or accounting, or even law, and then try get into an honors degree or a postgraduate diploma in taxation. Because remember, the tax that you do in undergrad and the tax that you do in honors and your postgraduate diploma are very different to each other. Because remember, honors, we're trying to build a foundation, we're trying to teach you how to learn the legislation, and we're trying to get you to apply what you're learning. But when you go into postgrad, we start moving more into the practical. So there will be a little bit of a gap for you if you jump straight from undergrad and you try go into work, because you haven't been exposed to the technical aspects, you haven't been exposed to the practical aspects of tax. So I really would, if you do want to go down the tax consulting route, I would say try and do an honors degree or postgraduate diploma in taxation. Okay, let me see. Would you say going through the CA route is okay if you don't get to be at a training center that is audit related? Yes, guys, like I said, 100%. Remember, with the CA route, you're still doing a lot of accounting and you're still doing a lot of taxation. So as long as taxation is something that you're doing, you can 100% move into a career of tax. Because remember, at the end of the day, in order to understand tax, you also need to understand accounting, and you need to be able to read financial statements. So it would be good for you to be able to understand both topics. You cannot do one without the other. Okay, so I see, Sisanda, you said, if you have a BCom accounting postgraduate qualification in management accounting, yes, you can. So again, remember, you have a BCom postgraduate. So all you'd have to do is go again onto the site website and just double check the requirements and see if you can get into a workplace, a site accredited workplace provider, and start your articles. Okay, Liesel, I see you said that you are currently doing postgrad in taxation. That's amazing. I wish you all the best, and I hope everything goes well for you. And Mahlatsi, I see you said, does the postgrad need to be site accredited? I have to double check that for you, but I think most universities are site accredited, especially if it is a postgraduate in taxation. So that is something that you'll just have to double check, but I do think that it is okay. Okay, I'm going to go into the next slide. So again, remember we spoke about what are the different types of careers one can have in terms of taxation. So can you guys see we have Big Four and consulting, and then we have in-house taxation. So like I said, Big Four consulting is, for example, you're working at PwC, BDO, KPMG, and you are working with clients, you're charging them rates, you know, and then you have in-house tax. So in-house tax, for example, let me use a company like Woolworths. Now you go and you work for Woolworths and you are dealing in-house with Woolworths taxation. And if you don't know about how to deal with the taxation, you're going to go and you're going to reach out to a consulting firm to help you. Okay. So that's kind of the differences between the two. And it really depends on your type of personality, which one you would like to go into. Because I know Big Fours, it is very strict, but I can't lie to you guys, I'm very grateful that I did start at KPMG. It has curved my career, it has given me a lot of discipline. So if you are able to get into consulting, I really would say that it was a great experience. But also, I can't really speak about being an in-house tax person because I haven't experienced it, but I do know there are a lot of benefits to being an in-house person, especially because you become a specialist in that department that you're working with, which also makes you very special in terms of when you want to move somewhere else because you now have specialized knowledge in that field. For example, you working for a mining company or you working for a restaurant, because you guys remember there's different legislation for different types of businesses. So that way you can become a specialist in whatever you do, and then they're going to look for you because now you know exactly how that works. So I would say that one is not better than the other. It just depends on what type of person you are and where you get the opportunity and which one you go into. Okay, so again, like I said, you guys will never be bored with tax. And I might be biased, but I think tax is the best subject. If you're doing a BCom degree, I think tax is the one where you're going to have the most fun. It's not just numbers. You're looking at math, you're looking at law, you're looking at English, and you're looking at why does the government do things in a certain way. You can even start looking at economics and you're looking at tax policy. Guys, it's the world is your oyster when it comes to tax. I promise you. You guys can see I might be biased, but I love tax. And I think in South Africa, I think it's a place that we need to be. And I think it's an important space to be in. I see, Tubby, you did say it's one of the best modules. Thank you, guys. Guys can give me a little clap, guys. If you are doing tax, I really wish you guys the best. And I just want to let you guys know that tax is not difficult. It's just about taking a step back and understanding the fundamentals. I see, Sisanda, you said, is there a legislation that guides tax practitioners on the fees they charge clients? I'm not too sure about that. I'll be very honest. But it is something that we can look into. You guys can find my email. And if you guys have any further questions, you can ask me. I did see someone say, can you be my mentor? That is very kind. Like I said, guys, if you ever need help, if you ever want to understand where you're going in your career, you're more than welcome to follow me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message. I do think that tax is the place to be. So if you're thinking, I don't know if I want to be in tax or not, the answer is yes, you want to be in tax. So you guys can contact me. I have an open door policy. If you want to learn more about tax, if you want to pivot into education, you can also do that because that's something that I have done and I have not looked back since. I love education. I love what I do, and I'm here to do it because of you guys here. We're building the future tax practitioners, and it literally starts with all of you. Okay, so I don't know if anyone wants to unmute and ask me anything, or if you guys have asked me everything in the chat box. I am an open book. You can go ahead and ask anything, but if no one has any questions, then thank you guys for having me. I see accents. Please let me know if I said your name correctly. I see you have a question. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and bring my teams onto my other screen because I keep looking sideways and I don't want to look sideways and seem a bit disrespectful. Yeah. Is he able to unmute himself? Accent. Yeah, you let me know if I said that correctly.
Yeah, you're saying it correctly.
Okay,
I wrote a question on the chat. Anyway, let me just ask it directly. As a qualified chartered accountant in South Africa, what are the advantages of registering as a tax practitioner? Because I usually see a lot of people don't register as a tax practitioner once they qualify.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as a chartered accountant, is there a direct route to write the board exams to be a tax practitioner? A tax advisor, sorry, SA.
Okay, so let me answer the first one. So with the first one, remember, when you become a tax practitioner, you are given a tax practitioner number. So in the legislation, when someone is filing tax returns on behalf of someone else, it can only be done by a tax practitioner. So a lot of the people that you see who work in tax, who they do the returns and they do all the calculations, they have to submit the return under someone else who has a tax practitioner number. So for example, when I worked at KPMG, we would prepare the work, it would get reviewed. I can't go and press submit because I don't have a tax practitioner number, but my manager who has the tax practitioner number is able to submit the return. So if there becomes a time where you want to go into your own practice, or you want to start, doing tax advice for people on the side, or you want to complete tax returns for people, you will not be able to do that without a tax practitioner number. So that's why it's very important to have. And then in terms of your second question, remember, site and SAICA are not the same thing. So even if you do go and finish your SAICA route, you would still have to go do tax articles in terms of site, and then do the UNISA board exam after your articles have been signed off. Because remember, they're doing different logbooks. With SAICA, you're dealing with different topics, you're dealing with different work. But with site, you're dealing with just tax. So you can't do the workplace as a CA and then think that you can write the exam under tax advisor, because you've done completely different work from each other. Does that make sense? So I have had friends who finished the the tax advisor route and then wanted to still go down the TASA route. But then again, remember guys, if you do become a chartered accountant, you can get a tax practitioner number without having to go through site. So you don't have to do both, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Yes, please. Thanks a lot.
Okay, no problem. I don't know if anyone else has a question for me. You can raise your hand. You can type it in the chat box. Yes, Helen. I think they need to give you rights to speak to me.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask, did you say, I wanted to add to get clarity on, you said that you can, when you're a chartered accountant, you don't need the site designation.
Yes, you don't. So when you do become a chartered accountant, you are able to go and register as a tax practitioner once you become a chartered accountant. So if your goal is to get a tax practitioner number and you're already a chartered accountant, then you don't need to go do the site articles to do that. Same thing with if you're dealing with SAIPA. SAIPA can also go and once you're done, you can go and try and get your tax practitioner number. If your goal is to not do chartered accountancy, but to go into TASA, then you would go down that route to get your tax practitioner number. But like I said, you don't have to do both. If you want to do both, it's just a choice.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, I see we don't have more questions. But yeah, I wish you guys all the best. I just want to let you guys know that education is something that can never be taken away from you. And I want you to know that you guys are going to go far in life. The world is your oyster. If you want something, go for it. It's going to happen. Let you guys know I'm 25, so I'm young. I'm very close to you guys in age. And I've always wanted to accomplish a lot in my life. And I want you guys to know that you will make it happen. Please focus on your studies, take things seriously. If you have questions, ask them. No one is going to be upset with you for asking a question about your future. Okay, hope you guys have a lovely rest of the afternoon, and thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much, Godlive. She brought the energy, she brought the inspiration, and made SARS not to sound as scary as we all think it is. So can I get a reaction of clapping of hands for Miss Godlive? Thank you so much. So Diksha has posted the accounting professional bodies. So the links are where it states resources. So if you click on that link, it will take you to where you'll be able to see or watch all the videos from all the professional bodies in accounting. So if you go to the chats there, you will be able to see it. All right? Can I get a thumbs up if you can see it there on the chats? Righty. Thank you so much. So now we are going to move to our third speaker of the day. So our third speaker is the accomplished Mr. Malibongwe Majombozi, a chartered accountant in South Africa who is currently serving as the financial controller for the Africa region at Evolution. Malibongwe brings over 8 years of experience across the retail, iGaming, and fintech sector, with expertise in financial planning and analysis, financial leadership, and taxation. He completed his articles at Deloitte, gaining deep technical and regulatory expertise that shaped his strong foundation as a finance professional. So yes, he's definitely served articles, which means there is hope for all of you guys. He holds a BCom in financial accounting and postgraduate diploma in accounting from the University of Cape Town. Beyond his technical skill, Malibongwe is passionate about empowerment, collaboration, and diversity in the finance profession, believing these values drive meaningful and sustainable impact. Please help me welcome Mr. Malibongwe Majombozi. Can we all react with a clap of hands?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Am I able to switch on my video?
You should be able. And yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Thanks, Felicity. All right, thank you for that introduction. And once again, good morning, everyone. I'm very honored to be here. And Felicity, that introduction was, yeah, that was quite something. The only correction on that though that I want to mention is that I did my articles with Deloitte. There might be a firm, Deloitte, I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I want to just jump straight into it. Am I able to share my screen on this as well?
Yes, you are.
Perfect. Thank you. Hold on one moment. Okay. Let me know when you can see it. Is it visible to everyone? Okay. I do see a few thumbs up, so I'll take that as a yes. All right, so I'll start with maybe what is fairly obvious to most of the people who are here, but just to understand what exactly a chartered accountant is. So a chartered accountant is it's simply a highly qualified finance professional. And what that really comes down to is the level of study and experience that you need to go through in order to, you know, to gain the qualification. That's really all that really means. It is recognized internationally, which means you have the, you know, the potential to be able to work in any kind of space, from South Africa to the UK to the US, anywhere else. And out of interest, the equivalent of the chartered accountant designation in the US is called a CPA. So if you wanted to, you would be able to move to the US. But in order to gain the CPA designation, you probably just need to write one of their exams to get the CPA designation as well. And then just an interesting note about where it all comes from or where it originated is in Scotland. So I didn't know this until very recently, because Scotland is considered kind of the home of the profession, if you will. All right, and then if we move to the next slide, so the qualifications and training required to become a chartered accountant, there are different routes, of course, potentially through CIMA as well, but I'll speak from my experience. So the undergraduate accounting degree from a psycho-accredited university, you then get a PGDA, postgraduate diploma in accounting, or CTA. In other universities that have this program, it is an honors degree instead of being an advanced diploma. But those are effectively the same in terms of allowing you to achieve the qualification. After that, you then obviously have your board exams, the professional exams, the first board exam, which is the ITC, the second board exam, which is the APC, Assessment of Professional Competence. The first exam, I'm sure there might be some people here who are doing CTA at the moment. If I can just get an indication if they are, even if it's a thumbs up or any kind of reaction. Okay. If not, the one thing I wanted to highlight in terms of this is that the CTA is the program that prepares you from a technical point of view to tackle the ITC, the initial test of competence. And that exam it's almost like you are writing an exam relating to the CTA year, so the honors year. And it's very technical. It's very much focused on the 4 core elements of the chartered accountancy qualification, which are tax, auditing, financial management, and financial reporting. So that one is, yeah, that exam, professional exam, is very much on the technical side of things. The APC, which is where a lot of people often struggle, is the one that is a lot more not realistic necessarily, but in the APC, you are assumed to have the technical background, the technical base from which to perform as a chartered accountant. It now tests your ability to perform as a professional in a professional kind of situation or context. And I think that exam is actually really helpful in giving you a better idea of what working as a chartered accountant might look like or feel like. Obviously, when you are writing the exam itself, that's not necessarily how it feels. But yeah, in my experience, it really gives you a much better indication of what the experience is in terms of that context. And then the next step would obviously be the training contract. So in our time, I'm not sure if this is still how it is described, but we talk about TIP and TOP. TIP being training inside of public practice and TOP being training outside of public practice. So inside public practice would be your audit firms. Obviously, you'll see we all know about the Big Four, but there are many audit firms that are available for your choosing, just depending on the kind of experience that you want, as well as the exposure. And then training outside of public practice obviously relates to things like going to a bank or going to a financial services company like Old Mutual or Sanlam, some of which have psycho-accredited training programs. And then at the end of that period, that's when you then are able um, to apply for the designation, to be able to use the designation CASA. Another important part of this to remember, so you'll note on the slide it speaks about ethics and CPD, CPD just being continuing professional development. So that part of the profession is about continuing to, to refresh yourself and to upgrade your skills as you are in the workplace. We often think that once you're done studying and the exams are done, that you never have to learn anything new again. And it, in fact, is very much the opposite, because things are constantly changing. And now, in the space that we're in with the advent of AI, it has become even more important to keep up with everything that is happening around us, so that we can remain relevant within the context within which we operate. I'll chat a little bit. Let's see, perhaps it is now. Give me a second. Let me actually just try without the headphones. Might be part of the problem.
Sorry there, Malibongwe. Some students have auditory issues, so that's why some of them can't hear you properly. I don't know if it's the headsets or, but I will let you know. Oh, now we can hear you clearly.
Fine now.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Perfect. 1 second. I just need to close the windows in my office. There's a bit of background noise. I don't want it to interfere. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for the correction on the ITC. I see it is now called the Initial Assessment of Competence, if I remember correctly. Okay, so before I get into the next slide, then let me just, since this is relating to qualifications and training, I'll just quickly answer some of the questions in the chat, and then I'll go on. So I'll start here. Is there any way to work for a firm while studying undergraduate so that one may cut the 3 years of articles? So it might be possible. As far as I know, it might be possible. But I would say that it's probably unlikely, because to begin articles, you need to have the base of your undergraduate degree. And there are some firms where they allow you to do your CTA whilst you're doing your articles, because you at least have completed the undergraduate degree. So unfortunately, there's no easy way to necessarily cut down the amount of time that it takes. But most likely you can't do the articles until you've at least finished the undergrad. And then there's a question from Lisha Honora around aligning yourself for top. So because I wasn't in the top space necessarily, I did my training at Deloitte. I wouldn't be able to give you as much info as someone who has that experience, but what I can say is that there's a lot of information that actually can be found in terms of firms that are, well, not firms, but let me put it this way, let me say training outside of the typical or traditional route, which is inside public practice. So banks, financial services companies, etc., they are often advertising their CA programs on a lot of different platforms. I think some are on IG, some are on LinkedIn, So I would definitely suggest one of those platforms to at least get an idea of which firms or which companies rather are have those programs, and how to best prepare yourself for it. Then there's a question from Laura. I'm currently doing diploma in accounting and I want to be a chartered accountant. Which steps must I follow? So basically, I think this slide does answer that question quite comprehensively. So it's the undergraduate degree. So I assume from a diploma in accounting, you can then probably upgrade that to an undergraduate with an extra year. That's purely an assumption. I'm not 100% sure about the program itself. But once you've then achieved the equivalent of the undergraduate degree, you will then be able to move on to the postgraduate diploma in accounting, honors degree, whichever is the CTA equivalent in the institution you're studying at, and then the rest of the steps are the same as I've mapped out. And then a question from Serame, I think. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Jeffrey, when you become a qualified CA, does age matter? Simple answer is no, it does not. In context of getting employed in South Africa, I think it still doesn't necessarily matter that much, but there's a lot of other factors then that need to be considered in terms of that. A lot of companies do want to hire younger people because they think differently, etc. But I don't think that necessarily always becomes a barrier in terms of employment. All right, and then I'll pause there and just continue with the slides, and then I'll come back to the rest of the questions, just so we don't run out of time. All right, so this is around the responsibilities and in fact, I probably should have said common or traditional responsibilities that a chartered accountant would have, which fall into these boxes. But obviously, you'll find a chartered accountant in many different contexts. For example, in a company that I worked in, there was a chartered accountant who was in the merchandising department. So they decided they wanted to move out of the typical finance space and move more into merchandise, which is around stock management, and planning and inventory and demand planning, etc., that kind of thing. So these are the common ones that we'll often see, which are auditing, the verification of financials. You have taxation, which Gottlieb, I think, spoke to quite well. Financial management, which is partly the space that I'm in, combined with business advisory and corporate governance. And all of those are basically your options in terms of the career path that you want to take. So you would then use those potentially as a base or as a starting point to think about what you want to do with your qualification once you have it. And then you can obviously branch out from there because there are a lot more potential opportunities, I can tell you that. And then in terms of the career opportunities, so you can work in many different places, public practice, as I mentioned. So if you do training inside public practice, so for an audit firm, etc., then this is the kind of space that you'll find yourself in. So Deloitte, PwC, EY, KPMG. If you went into corporate finance, and this might be a little bit confusing, but there are two ways in which we think about corporate finance. I'll get to that just now. So corporate finance covers CFOs, finance managers, and analysts in major corporations. So in the sense that I'm using corporate finance here, I'm talking about working in a company, in commerce, within finance in that company. The other sense that in which we use often corporate finance is where people are working on mergers and acquisitions or valuations. It could even be within asset management, etc. So that's not necessarily the sense within which I'm speaking here, but that is covered, in fact, by this in any case. And then tax and advisory, which I already mentioned, government and non-profit, as well as entrepreneurship. I have a number of friends who went in all of these different routes. And that basically, which is to say, the opportunities are really endless in that you can do whatever you choose to do once you get the key. Okay, and then key considerations. So this really is about understanding what having the CASA designation opens up to you. Global mobility, as I mentioned initially, you can travel using your qualification. You don't necessarily need to convert to the local version of it. So for example, if you go to the UK, you don't necessarily need to become a CA UK or an ICA EW in order to practice there. There are just different ways in which you are able to use your qualification because it is well recognized globally. The training, of course, as I mentioned, is quite intense, as well as the experience of articles. I think that's probably the more challenging part. Maybe for some people, maybe for other people, it's more the academic part of it, which is the undergrad and the postgrad. But it is rigorous training and qualification. There are high ethical standards and responsibilities. Sorry, I'm just seeing some of these questions pop in. I'm going to wrap up in a moment, and then I'll start getting back to those questions. So high ethical standards and responsibilities. So what we mean here is becoming a chartered accountant isn't just about getting the qualification and getting the 4 letters behind your name. There's a big responsibility that comes with it. I wanted to use the Spider-Man quote of "with great power comes great responsibility," but I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. But what makes me think of that in particular is there's a lot of public trust and a lot of public attention given to people with their designations, because often people with the designations will be in very senior positions in companies, in government, throughout any sphere of the economy. So that's something that I think is very important going into it to think about, because if you enjoy living in the gray, then that is something that is to be considered in terms of the profession that you want to work in. Transformation and diversity. So I did allude to this a little bit earlier, in that I do believe in the power of diversity and transformation to create a sustainable and meaningful impact. This is not just in any company that you work in or organization, but I believe this at a global level. Wherever you are, whatever you are, being able to collaborate, to empower others, and to have diversity of ideas and opinion is what gives a lot of value to a profession, to an individual, to an organization. And then the last thing is public trust. So I did allude to this in my note about the ethical standards. What I want to chat a little bit about is my current role. So in essence, I am a one-man show as far as leading the finance function for my organization is concerned. So I deal with a lot of different areas. And this is just an example of someone who ends up within the corporate finance space, as I mentioned before, which is your CFOs, your finance managers, etc. These are kind of some of the things or some of the areas of responsibility that they will have. So talk about billing. This is just invoicing of customers, ensuring that customers have the correct information on which to make their make their payments after they've been serviced, revenue. So, this includes a level of analysis, as well as reporting, as it relates to the billing. Obviously, there's quite a close link to that. And then the third thing being accounts receivable. So that includes the accounting for it, as well as the collection thereof, and managing it such that you have a healthy debtors book. I also look after financial accounting. So on a very regular basis, I'm having conversations with my assistant accountants, or the senior accountant about how to classify a certain transaction, considering what the IFRS recognition and measurement criteria are, whether this should be capitalized or expensed, IFRS 5, and how are we making sure that we are aligned in terms of how we're recognizing the revenue from a certain transaction. I also deal with tax, obviously not to the level that Godlive would deal with it. So I definitely wouldn't call myself an expert in tax, but I do deal with the company tax that includes VAT, employees tax, as well as companies tax. So that's obviously pretty broad. I am also obviously the in-house finance guy, which means if anyone has a question about tax and how it would affect a certain transaction, that would come to me. Procurement and accounts payable quite closely linked, but part of that for me on a daily basis includes reviewing invoices to ensure that the expense is valid. Is it accurate? Is it complete? The funny thing about that is that from an audit point of view, that's one of the I think assertions that you need to consider when you are testing a transaction. So on the other side, as the preparer, if you will, that's part of my process within that. Payroll, so I don't manage the entire payroll process anymore. I used to. I now only look after certain elements of it, in particular from a statutory point of view and employee benefits. I also deal with financial reporting, which is obviously the production of the financial statements, as well as coordinating with the audit team once it's time for the annual audit. And then in terms of treasury, so I look after our liquidity and banking situation to make sure that the company is, adequately funded. Obviously, there's a global element to that as well. And then I also deal with projects. I deal a little bit with the triple BEE and supporting in terms of clients on that front. Financial control, so that includes things like asset protection, internal controls around processes, whether it be relating to systems or in assets or other procedures, and then ad hoc things, which include providing support when we are doing due diligence on a customer, or if our global due diligence team is dealing with an integration request from a customer. So it is quite a broad scope, and that's probably one of the things that I enjoy the most about my role, is that I get to do a lot of different things. I don't feel like I'm doing the same thing on any given day. That also is obviously challenging as well, because it means that I don't have capacity, if you will, to dig into a lot of things, but I kind of manage things at a much more high level point of view. And what I wanted to point out in terms of the difference between my current role and my previous role, for example, in my previous role, I was specifically within the FP&A team, right? So I was the lead finance business partner, and in that context, my specific focus was around budgets and forecasts, business partnering, something I do now, but to a lesser extent that I did because that was the only thing that I needed to focus on. Not that there wasn't a lot to do, it was just that there was a lot to do in that specific space or that specific scope. And then, let me just quickly look at the remaining questions, and then we'll see how we're looking on time. Sorry, Felicity, please just let me know if I'm not doing too well with time. I'm mindful of the program. Are there firms that take students for articles that were doing maths lit in matric? So I think it's less the firm and more relevant to the institution. So if you're able to get into the institution to study what you need to study in order to qualify, then I don't see that being a problem. I hope that answers your question, Mabato. Is it recommended to pursue chartered accountancy after doing an undergrad in financial accounting? So I would say I kind of recommend it because being a CA is also for it's not necessarily for everyone. It can be extremely challenging because you have to deal with the softer side of things, never mind the technical part of it. So the technical stuff you could get really, really good at, and like this well-respected person who can deal with the producing a discounted cash flow. You can calculate the budget. You can do this and that and the other. But when it comes to interacting and dealing with people, apologies, you deal with a lot of different personalities, and a lot of different people can be challenging to work with. So I highly recommend it, just keeping in mind that it's not just about the books. How to become a forensic accountant after CA, that I don't have too much info on. The one person I know who is within the forensic space actually did economics. We studied together and he did economics. So I do think there's probably some other courses that might be available that allow you to specialize as a forensic accountant. But yeah, that's really all I can say in terms of that. I'm 27 and pursuing a degree in accounting. Are there any age restrictions on the path to qualifying? No age restrictions as far as I'm aware. I'm currently completing my honors degree while working in finance. I pursue articles with my prior work experience, reduce the training period. My initial feeling about it is that no, it would not, because the work environment that you are in and the kind of work that you're doing is very important in order to kind of qualify as hours towards the qualification, if you know what I mean. So CICA-accredited training organizations need to achieve specific competencies. So you need to have learned and have proof that you've learned certain competencies, and it has to be CICA-accredited. So even though you might have, potentially done something that an article clerk would have done, because it's not a CICA-accredited organization, it most likely won't count towards the training period. What can you do to become an investment banker? That I cannot help you with, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Which companies offer back work for first years in accounting? So I know for a fact that Deloitte used to, at least, because I did back work when I think I was actually in third year when I did back work. I did 2 weeks. But there should be resources available, and I'll have a look if I can see any and share on the chat as well, in terms of that. But there are definitely companies other than Deloitte that I think offer back work. If you choose to do a CA via ACCA, then yes, your finance experience will count if you cycle them now. So I don't know what's meant when you say if you choose to do your CA via ACCA, I don't think ACCA accredits chartered accountants. SAICA is the only one in South Africa. So yeah, I won't say much more about that because I'm not quite clear on the comment. What career path I need to follow if I want to work at government audits? Felicity, please let me know how many more questions I have time for.
Maybe you can just take the last two so that we can just wrap it up.
Okay, the last two. So, okay, thanks. So I'll have a look at this. So the career path to follow in terms of for government audit, it would be pretty much the same as if you wanted to do audits in a Big Four company. So you would basically do your training through the AGSA. So it's effectively the same thing, except you would then want to apply at the AGSA to become a trainee there. That would then allow you to take the route within government audit. And then lastly is a tax accountant in the same route as a chartered accountant. I think Godlive probably covered this a little bit in the sense that you can be a tax accountant through the chartered accountancy route, but it's not a must. So if you do undergrad, for example, and you do a postgrad diploma in tax, you can then continue in terms of that path in order to register, to register with the SAIT. But if you're a chartered accountant and you register as a tax practitioner, you don't necessarily need to be part of SAIT, if I understood that correctly. All right, yeah, I think that's it, Felicity, in terms of the last couple of questions. The last one, I'll just type a note in the chat to answer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was quite informative. I can see from the reaction from the students, we've learned that chartered accounting can be rigorous or very difficult at times, but it's extremely rewarding at the end. So thank you once again, Malibonge, for that.
My pleasure, and thank you very much, everyone, for your time and attention. Have a good one.
Okay, so now I'm going to hand it over to my co-host, Smakaleng, who is going to take us through the last four speakers. So can we kindly clap hands for Smakaleng, as well as give Malibongwe a round of applause. Beautiful. Love it.
Thank you so much, Felicity. To those who have just joined, my name is Makaleng. I'm a mentor on the 2026 mentorship program, and I'm also a student in the science, engineering, and technology field. So I'll be continuing with the program from here up until the end. So up next on the program, we have a speaker with strong expertise in auditing, governance, and risk management. She currently serves as an auditor at a state-owned entity where she reports directly to the chief audit executive. She is a certified internal audit technician, a professional internal auditor, and an ICT auditor under the Institute of Internal Auditors South Africa, and is a member in good standing of both the IIE and ICASA. Academic achievements include BCom in accounting from UNISA, a Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting from the University of Johannesburg, a postgraduate diploma in forensic UNISA, and a management advancement program from the Wits University. Can we please welcome Ms. Rendani Mabungu? I hope I'm saying the surname correctly. I know that in Chavenda, VH is pronounced as B. Over to you, Ms. Rendani.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, you are pronouncing it correctly. It's Mabu, not Mabu. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for honoring me with the opportunity. I'm not going to be that long, and thank you for such a pleasant introduction. I'm also one of your students, so for me also it's a career advancement to be part of this this workshop. Before I can go to my slides, I must admit the previous speaker, I'm not going to be that different from them because most of the things that they were talking about, they relate also to internal auditing. I must say it, I also tried to be a chartered accountant. I did my CTA. As you know, if something is not meant for you, you need to move on and check what is best. So along the way, I say to myself, you know what, I think my route that I need to follow is the auditing one. So here I am. I've done both external audit and internal audit. And currently, I'm also doing the IT audit. Let's go to my presentation. Are you able to see it?
Yes, we can see.
Is it on the presentation mode on your side?
No, it's not on the presentation mode.
Can?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I named the presentation the career I didn't know that I needed it. That's internal auditing. The icebreaker. Who thinks that auditors ruins people's day? I mean, some people, when they see us as police women or policemen who are just there to catch them. So the reality is, no, we're just there to prevent the disaster. I'll start also by defining as to what is internal auditing. It's independent assurance and consulting activity. We add value and improve the operation of the organization. And we also assist in managing the risk and control. What is a risk? Risk is something that the possibility of something to go wrong. And then what are controls? Controls, when you talk about controls, we are relating to the organization procedures, the organization framework, the organization policies, the organization processes that are being developed for the organization to be able to operate on a day-to-day basis. Why is it that internal audit matters? It matters in the following ways. We prevent financial loss. How? By detecting the ghost employees. You'll find that within the organizations, there's a person who's earning a payroll while not being the employee in that organization. And we also, by doing that, obviously, we'll be saving money because the salary that was being paid to the ghost employee will no longer be paid. We also improve the system. This one is more on the IT related, where we move from the manual to be automated. I gave an example by procurement, where we are saying it is easier and faster to make the processing if we have automated the system. Also, the other one, we look at the protection of the organization reputation. Why? Because we fix the compliance. Is the organization in compliance with what they're supposed to comply, i.e. the regulations, the laws, so that by complying, it means that we are avoiding the scandals. You know what is happening in our country. There are a lot of scandals that are coming out. And the one which is also more important, we also assist management in making the decision making by providing the risk insight for better decisions, for the organization to be able to make a better decision. Especially if, let's say, maybe we are going for a strategic planning, that's where our support on the decision matters, because we are planning for the upcoming year. Then I want to also differentiate the internal audit versus the external audit. Looking at the proposals, the internal auditors, they improve the internal controls. As I've indicated, controls, we are referring to the process, the procedures, the policy, the frameworks that are developed by management within the organizations, the risk management, the governance processes. But when you talk about the external audit, their purpose is to provide an independent opinion on whether financial statements are fair and accurate. They don't look at the internal control per se. Their focus is more on the financial statement as to whether are they fair and accurate. And then when we talk about also the internal audit, we are the employees of the organization. But the external auditors, they are not the employees of the organizations. They can be audit firms. They can be other audit companies that are appointed by the organizations. So when you look at the scope or the engagement, we as internal auditors, we cover the operational efficiency, the compliance, the risk management, and the internal control. But with external auditors, they focus mainly on the financial reporting and the statutory compliance. Let's talk now about the reporting. We report to senior management and the board of directors, that is the audit committee. But with regards to the external auditors, they report to the shareholders, the regulators, and the external stakeholders. And then I'll go to the next one, where I would like to also explain the type of internal audit that we conduct within the organization. We've got compliance audits, where, for example, we check the tender process, we identify if there are any non-compliances. We've got the performance audit, where we review the project and improve the efficiency of that project. We've got the financials, where we review, example, the revenue controls. Or if, let's say, maybe the external auditors came to the organization and then they want the AFs, which is the annual financial statement. Before they can be given the AFs, we as the internal auditors, we do the thorough review on those financials to be able to assist the organization if there are any inconsistencies. There's also the forensic audit, where we investigate the fraud hand in hand with the legal department, where we look at the disciplinary action, which this one we work hand in hand with the HR department. We also have the IT audit, where we are reviewing now the system access. For example, we want to reduce the security risk. We do the overall, the application controls within the IT environment. The qualifications. For you to become an internal auditor, you can do the internal audit degree, diploma, and also the accounting degree. Once you have completed your internal audit degree, you can go and do articles in an audit firm that's specialized in internal auditing. Or if you do the accounting degree, you can go and do the articles. And maybe in the olden days, you could be lucky and do both the external and the internal audit. Then the certifications of internal auditing. You can be a certified internal auditor, which you do the exam via the Institute of Internal Auditors, which is the IIA. Or you can become a certified information system auditor, whereby you follow the process of ISACA, which I can say this nowadays, the second one, it's more, most of the organizations, they are in need of the CISA people. With regard to the career in internal auditing, like she has indicated when I started, I am an internal auditor, but I report directly to the Chief Audit Executive. There's no audit manager between me and the CAE. There's no audit senior between me and the CAE. But those are some of the career that you can get, or the position that you can get within the internal audit side. You can be the IT security auditor, you can be the IT security consultant. There are so many, especially on the IT side. Why must you choose internal audit? Internal audit is diverse and dynamic. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because you can work across different departments, industry, or even countries. Meaning that you can go to the mines, you can go to the departments, you can go to the bank. You are suitable to work in each and every environment, as long as you understand the environment of the organization that you're working at. And it also have excellent career prospects, such as what I've also indicated there when I talk about the careers. Like you can be a senior auditor, audit manager, CAE. And if you want, you can transit from being an auditor and become a compliance auditor or risk manager or an IT. My final message to you is internal audit does add value to the organization and even to our lives, on our everyday life, because it teaches us to have control, to look at control. Example, when you go to the shop and buy something there, you expect to get a receipt. And when you get a receipt, you also check to say, is the price on the receipt aligning with what I saw on the shelf? So that's internal auditing, that's control. We are making controls. And then it also improves the organizations. It also shapes the future of the organization by that support on the decision making. I am done. And then if we have any questions, you will let me know. Thank you.
I see there are questions in the chat box. No one has raised their hand, but then maybe we can attend to the question in the chat box. Okay, they're saying, okay, I'm not sure if you can maybe take the questions in the chat box. Or I can read them.
Yeah, you can read them, it's fine.
Okay. Sarah May is asking, what are the steps I should follow to be a forensic accountant? I am currently busy with a bachelor's degree in accounting, PSYCA route.
On that one, I'm clued up with the forensic accounting, but I know a bit about forensic auditing. But with regard to the question of forensic accounting, I'll be lying. I have no idea as to what are the steps that she needs to follow. But on a general knowledge, I would say that you need to firstly obtain the BCom accounting degree, and then maybe you do the postgrad on the forensic, but I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. And another one says, how is the career growth and rates for internal auditors versus CAs?
There's been this myth of saying that chartered accountant are, what can I say it? They are overly rated than the the certified internal auditors. I would say to you that that is not true. Even though the examinations, they differ. The chartered accountant, they do the board exam in the olden days, and then the CIA, we also have a board exam, but which is different from the CA. So also myself, when I started doing CIA, it was a problem for me to say, am I not downgrading myself? Because I've always wanted to be a CA. So when I make inquiries, apparently it's the same. It's all about where you have found yourself having, let's say maybe where are you working? Because when you talk about money, they are chartered accountants who are earning less than the certified internal auditors. I hope I made that clear for her or him.
Okay. I'm just going to take the last two. Linda is asking, what steps should be taken to specialize in IT auditing after completing an accounting science degree?
Okay. After you've completed your accounting science degree, what you need to do, you need to register at ISACA as a student, where you become a member. Once you become a member, you also need to, it's either you're going to go and find an institution that offers CISA, or you do it by just buying the CISA manual book that you can use. Okay, let me tell you how I did it. I had my degree because I had the experience. For me to get into ISACA, it was easier. So I started as a person that works, not as a student. Then after that, I enrolled in an institution. I forgot the name. Then on that institution, I attended the classes for CISA, preparing for me to write the exam. So for her, I would say register at ISACA as a student. There's a certain amount that you're going to pay, that you pay annually. And then after that, you must look for an institution that you will offer you classes, like Orion Cyber, if I'm not mistaken, that will offer you classes on CISA. Then you attend those classes. Then after, when you're ready, you schedule for the exam of CISA. And then once you write, you get, if you pass it, they will go and look at your experience. If you don't have an experience, they will request for you to have an experience before they can give you that certification. I think it's 18 months. And then within that CISA, you are going to decide as to which specialty. Are you going to specialize on the protection of information assets? Are you going to specialize on the IT governance? So and so. So I will say to you, go to ISACA website, register as a student, and then the rest will follow.
Okay, thank you. The last one, I think maybe you might have touched on it. Mawande says, hello, ma'am. I hold a postgraduate diploma in internal auditing. I'm currently enrolled in Masters of Philosophy in Accounting Science, auditing stream. Could you please advise me on how to secure experiential training in auditing? I have found that I am often ineligible for traditional internships due to age limit restrictions.
That's a tricky one. Because it's either they're saying it's the age restriction or she's overqualified for the internship. That's a very tricky one for me to say. I'll be honest, to say how will I advise you if maybe the internship opportunity was still open or you were still under the required age. I was gonna say apply for an internship, because the other thing maybe that you can do, some organization, they are introducing this thing of a trainee, like where I am. they're introducing this thing of trainee, where they train you for 2 to 3 years, and then after that they decide as to whether they will take you or not. So maybe the other thing that you need to look at, go to and check at the different audit firms and the organization, even if they're not audit firms, and inquire to say, what type of training do you provide? Because most of the time, the trainee, they don't advertise it that much, but inquiry might assist.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Ms. Rendani, for the insightful session. I think some of the questions then you can answer them in the chat box if you still have some time. Then we're gonna move on. So our next speaker is, can we please clap hands for Ms. Rendani? That was informative. Our next speaker on the program is someone who's not only making an impact on the finance space, but is also passionate about developing the next generation of accountants. Let's please welcome Mr. Zwelakhe Kwebu. He's currently working as an FP&A analyst at BP in Southern Africa, with a strong focus on financial analysis and strategic decision making. Over to you, Zwelakhe. Let me just share my screen. I received this document to share.
Am I audible? Yes, thank you. I'm audible. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're all doing good. My name is Zwelakhe Kwebu once again, and I am an FP&A business performance analyst at BP Southern Africa. So that mainly deals with sort of like finance business partnering across our different divisions. I'm focusing on midstream, which is responsible for the terminals and the pipelines of the organization to ensure that the final product gets to customers, which includes MoGas, which includes G50 and other petroleum products in a way. So just touching on the journey of becoming a CGMA, I'm just months away from becoming a CGMA. I'm still within my training phase, but then I will assist and guide everyone in that regard. So just please go to the next slide. So the journey of why this journey of becoming a CGMA, it's of importance, or it's of imperative importance to understand that CGMA designation allows you to explore. Okay. Oh, okay. I saw a message now. Allows you to explore quite a number of different markets across the world. So the plethora of opportunities that are currently there, this designation allows you, because they are it's originally from the United Kingdom, and it being in the United Kingdom means that it gives you access to a wide range of markets, which includes the US, as we have a partnership with Nike Park, right? So it's now a language of business that everyone understands, and once you get this designation, it allows you to grow and push towards that direction. The first understanding of CGMA that I got was that it's basically a CA and an MBA marrying each other to create this CGMA, right? So just to please go to the next slide. Yeah, please go to the next slide.
Okay, speak.
Oh. Excuse me?
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. Excuse me. Maybe it was processing on my side. So just to underline the importance of this is that in an age of growing globalization and intensified competition, modern business demand timely and accurate financial information. That is why CIMA members are sought after by companies across the world. Please just go up. I just want to touch on the description of the difference between financial accounting and management accounting. Let's just go up. Yes. So the difference between financial accounting and management accounting, right? Financial accounting analyzes past financial performance for regulatory reporting using quantitative information and measures financial data mostly and only. And then management accounting forecasts, analysis, budgets using qualitative and quantitative data, the measuring of operational and financial performance to help leaders make decisions. So in my case, for example, I've worked within front office, which is more of where the management accounting happens, which is now what I'm doing as an FP&A business performance analyst, and I've done roles within, for example, tax within what's this, doing joint venture consolidations and doing roles in inventory analysis, and on the latter, we were mostly dealing with past data that has happened, right? And using that data to create reports, to sort of like build up what pay off clients and a number of things, right? But when I got to do my FP&A role, which is more management accounting, I have gotten exposed to forecasting, to budgeting, to the foresight of what the business plans to do in the next 10 years. So that means that you are in a sphere whereby you are able to make critical business decisions that will ensure that the organization gets closer to its goal and become a much more competitive organization. So that's the two differences that I've gotten between these two. May please go to the next slide. So the CGMA designation is the future of finance. And I thought this statement from the organization was more of a way in which they lure students in. But during my tenure at Unilever, for example, I got exposed to robotic process automation at the time, and it dealt with automating business processes in order to enhance the capabilities of the organization and grow more time or create more time in which a person can do other activities. And that was part of the syllabus that I had at the time within my studying. So I was shocked because I was studying, and during the year I went for that VAC work at Unilever, and it gave me that exposure to say, this is what's happening. The future is now. So the syllabus also integrates AI. The 2026 syllabus integrates AI, cybersecurity, and a number of critical digital skills which are needed by a finance professional in order for them to compete globally, right? It's not enough for a finance professional to just merely have the basic technical skills, but it's important for them to become an active finance business partner to ensure that they're able to unlock their opportunity in order to ensure that they unlock the capabilities of the organization. So a couple of roles that are there includes things like management accountant, chief financial accountant, treasurer, financial accountant, business analyst, finance manager, and a couple of other roles, but mainly growing you towards becoming a finance business partner, right? But the interesting thing about CIMA is that it approaches or it meets you where you are. So irrespective of the type of qualification you're currently having, there is a way in which you can integrate into that. But I'll get to that as we go along. May please go down. Right. Okay, this is sort of like the real salaries of people within the what do you call it, the market, which we can unlock with time. But I think it's more subjective as you as it relates to your experience and what you have. But CGMAs can be very, very high earning, especially because they are very sought after within the mining sector, within FMCG, within, I know that, what do you call it, audit firms have an mergers and acquisition wing where a lot of where the direction is for people to become CGMAs in the long term. So there's a number of sectors in which one can get access to, and that will come with fairly good remuneration. May you please go down? Can you please go down to the next one? It's sort of like the different organizations that mainly focus on that. So, for example, the big question people have about how to get programs that are aligned with the qualification, like graduate programs, for example. The graduate program that I got into at BP required a person to sort of like work towards the CGMA qualification, has that requirement as well. And okay, Unilever has that requirement, like a route. And then another thing is that there is the mining sector as well has been taking in number of students. So, for example, in our final year, 3 mining companies came through and said, we are looking for students who are going through the SEMA route that they bring in to ensure that they are able to become good business leaders. And then another sphere that is important is, for example, cost and management accounting. So within the FMCG space, you're looking at your let's take linker meats, for example, the pricing components within factories to become a partner alongside the GMs and the engineering teams for them to understand their numbers, but also come up with strategic insights long term in order to ensure that the organization grows more effectively. So those are the type of things that CGMAs do. May please go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so now I'm going to touch on sort of like the journey that one takes in order to become a CGMA. So you can essentially start with a certificate in business accounting when you're starting out, when you don't have any qualification. So hence I mentioned earlier on that it meets you where you are. But for people who have a qualification degree of sorts, then you can start at a SEMA diploma in management accounting, and then when you have a qualification, for example, I did an honors in management accounting. I started at the management case study exam and completed that, did the strategic case study exam, and then I'm just now waiting to qualify in the long term, right? So the nice part about being a CGMA is that it can be converted into a CASA once you qualify as a CGMA, so that there's that SAICA SEMA partnership that was created that can be a bridge into accessing your CASA designation. So I think the most important thing when considering becoming a CGMA is what type of professional would you like to be? The one who takes the decisions directly from the beginning, or the one who takes the more traditional route, accounting route? The difference between FLP route and the traditional route. So the FLP route, right, goes in a way that, for example, instead of writing the objective tests, which include, let's do it. Let's start at management case study exam. So with a traditional route, you would have to write the managing performance, advanced management accounting test, advanced financial reporting test, right? So you'd have to write them individually until you pass them all, and then you can qualify to write the management case study exam. But with the FLP route, you only write the case study exams. So instead of writing the what do you call it, the what do you call it, the 12, 13 exams, you're going to write 3 or 4 exams at the end of the day. So the FLP route is much quick, and that can be accessed more affordably through your university. So if you went to UJ, there's an FLP program that they have, which is easily accessible, and it's much cheaper. But there are tuition providers who are generally there to guide you, or to for you, in order for you to write your different exams and whatnot. Yeah. I think we can open for other questions. So yes, the case study exam is a combination of the three objective tests. So for example, when you're writing management case study, you're writing management performance, advanced management accounting, and advanced financial reporting in one sitting. And then you'll be tested on a real life case study that within a specific sector, and you will be given real world questions onto so it's like sort of like a business simulation, and you have to apply the knowledge that you've gained throughout the program in order to be able to answer those questions. Is there any other questions pertaining to this?
Okay, I think time is on our side. Maybe we can just focus on the presentation, and then we'll go to the question in the chat box once we're done.
Okay. Oh, okay. No, just do that. Yeah, but I'm going towards the end of my presentation anyway. Right.
Okay.
So the next part about, for example, taking the FLP route is that you can study on your own in a way, right? For example, there is exams and mock exams, and let's just take, for example, FLP. There's mock exams that you can follow that can prepare you for the case study exam, right? Once you're taking the more traditional route and you access the case study exam, then you would have to access the different material that is given you by the training providers and whatnot along the way. So I think that's part of the important things to have in mind. And then I think, yeah, that's my last slide. Yeah, I think that's my last slide for me. Thank you. I think I can pose for questions now.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for the insightful presentation. We learned about the CGMA. Yeah, I don't know about that, and I hope other students have learned something. So right now, I think you can attend to the questions in the chat box, and then we're going to be moving on to our next segment, an information session from the College of Accounting. Yes, we're here.
Okay, let me just answer the questions in the chat. Yes. So with the SEMA journey, we go on a journey of For example, I would say from your first year of working, account for all of the experience that you have, right? So there's a practical experience requirement that is utilized in order for you to qualify as a CGMA. That is how you are assessed to say, are you viable? Do you have the necessary experience? Are you understanding the work that you have done? So what they do is that you submit your practical experience requirements, and then you include the details of your supervisor. Then they will give feedback on the type of experience that you have had within that time period. Then an independent panel will review the experience that you have and then review whether or not you are able to qualify as a CGMA or you require additional experience in order to qualify. So if you're working as a finance intern somewhere, the nice part about SEMA is that that work experience is relevant, right? And so, for example, being a financial accountant, being a finance intern. So the nice thing is that as you are I'll send through a link with the different specific job descriptions or requirements that are needed, but then you can start where you are. So whether you are a finance intern at AVBOB, you can use that experience and it will add up to your practical experience requirements. And then as you're studying, there's also exemptions. So as you are busy applying to become a student or to become a member. So for example, I know of someone who's been working for like 2-3 years. They got exemptions and started at management case level. They started with the management case study level instead of the operational case study level, whilst not having an honors qualification, for example. So there are different ways. They really review your work experience, then they afford you that opportunity to do that. Is there another question? I see a hand up. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think let's just answer like in the chat because
Okay.
we're supposed to be done by 12:45.
So, for example, there are bursaries that fund FOP programs. I am a beneficiary of FACET. FACET paid for my management case study exam, and in that year, I was able to finish all of my exams at within the calendar year. So here's another thing. So when you get access to your FOP membership or subscription, you are given 1 year, right? And for example, I started writing in November 2024. I failed. February 25, I passed my management case study. And then April, May, I wrote my strategic case study and I was able to pass successfully. So within that calendar year, I was able to clear out all of the required exams that to become a SEMA affiliate before I become a CGMA within one membership within the FLP program. So if you pass your exams in 1 year, you can be able to minimize your costs and then be eligible to become a SEMA affiliate whilst you're sorting out your practical experience requirements. And then
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So Ms. Seho Sebiela from the College of Accounting.
Excuse me, I didn't get that.
Good I was saying, let's type in the chat and then so that we can give a chance to Seho Sebiela from the College of Accounting.
Okay.
So we can continue the chat.
Okay, no, it's fine. And then
okay, thank you.
The case that yes, I did answer that. I did answer how many? Yes, I did answer most of the questions. I see another one is coming. Oh, it's breaking. Is it still bad? Is my network still bad? Hello?
Hi, Zweli. Sorry, Smakaleng. I think Smakaleng is having issues with her network. So what she was trying to say was, can you kindly answer to the students via chat in the chat box so that we can give the next speaker the platform to speak because we're behind time?
Okay. No, so I think I've been doing that. I've been answering the different questions. Yes, that's how I started. I started going through the different questions. There's another one that came through now. Okay, can you please explain the gap in currently completing? So, for example, with my, I remember with my honors year, the okay. So the management accounting role or honors that I did included the syllabus that includes sort of like, so in preparation of the management case study and the strategic case study. So, oh, okay. Oh, okay. No. So I think I'll just do that. I'll just answer. I'll just type in. If anyone has any questions, then I'll just do that. It's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was not aware that I'm breaking. So right now, from the College of Accounting, Ms. Sibiela, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, good afternoon. You are audible.
I think your line is breaking. Okay. Is my slide visible? My presentation?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tshegofatso Sibela, and I'm a manager in the Strategic Project Office from the College of Accounting Sciences. So what I was asked to do was basically to inform the students of the different funding options which we have within our college. My college deals with student funding within the College of Accounting Sciences. So I'll just share a bit of what we have, and then if there are any additional questions, then I will address those questions. I don't think I will take too much time. Okay, so my slide is not moving. Okay, so we have the main two funders which we normally deal with is Banksita as well as Facet. So Banksita for this year, we are still awaiting the bursary, but they normally fund undergraduate and postgraduate students. And then our funders being Facet, the funding which we have received this year is only for undergraduate students, and I'll explain why in a short while. And this funding deals with academic support as well as bursary. So the students would have seen an advertisement which was placed on Facebook about a month or so ago, and we did ask students to submit their information. What Facet and Banksita usually deal with, the type of students that Facet and Banksita usually deal with are students who are unfunded. So you are a student at UNISA, but you are not funded by anyone. So you would qualify for a Facet or a Banksita bursary, as well as students who are 35 years and below and are unemployed. So usually our advertisements for these two funders, Facet and Banksita, they go hand in hand. It's a student who's unfunded, students who's 35 and below, and yeah, they're not funded by any other funder. And then we also have student financial support. However, this one we don't advertise. We only deal with this specific one on a case-by-case basis. So a student, for example, let's say a student wants to register for the current year and they're having challenges because they have outstanding debt. We do, as the College of Accounting Sciences, at times do assist those type of students who may be needing to pay for their registration or maybe to settle their funds from the previous year. Although we look at how much outstanding funds are and how much we can afford from the College of Accounting Sciences. And then the settlement of debt, I'll speak about that one lastly. Then the fifth one I have on the slide is Facet, SAICA, and UNISA funding. So this one is academic support. It's equivalent to that one I spoke about earlier of Facet. But this one is Facet funding, which SAICA and UNISA are in conjunction with providing to the students. It's only applicable for the postgraduate students. They should also meet the requirements. They should be below the age of 35. And because it's academic support, you can still be funded by somebody else as long as you meet those other additional requirements. You can apply for that. I believe that the School of Applied Accountancy would have already sent out an advertisement for this specific funding so that students provide the additional information which is required and they can apply. So this is where additional classes, support, consultations will be had with the students. And then the last type of funding which we have is the settlement of debt. So this one is new. We are having it for the first time in the current year. So the settlement of debt focuses on students who completed their degrees or diplomas in 2025. So a student should have finalized their degree end of 2025, and they should be graduating in the current academic year. So this funding is solely also to unemployed students. However, we are still in communication with Banksita to see whether they can provide assistance for those students who may be employed. The challenge with a student being employed is that they do settle UIF, and based on that, the funders may have challenges with assisting. So if we have students who are in attendance, who are unemployed, who will be graduating, please do apply for this one. This one, we need to submit the information today. So I would expect students who meet this criteria to send an email to carestudentsupport@unisa.ac.za, and they will provide additional information which may be required. But the information will be required today so that Banksita can be able to assist in settling your student debt. Yeah, that's all for my office. That's all I needed to present, the type of fundings we have. And if a student has any other additional information, even if it's not in relation to the settlement of debt or may require a bursary or assistance, they can send their email to CAS Student Support. Yeah, that's all from my side. I don't know if there are any questions.
Okay, thank you so much. I see there are some questions in the chat. Maybe you can just answer from there, from the chat.
Okay, from the chat, let me just go to the newest one. Where can we find these ads about the bursaries? Okay, so because we are no longer allowed to post on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, which is now called X. These type of fundings which we have will be specifically posted on my UNISA. But if you do have questions about those type of fundings, bursaries, etc., please do email CAS student support at unisa.ac.za. They will respond to any questions you may have. Okay, and then I see what are the deadlines for the bank seat and the facet bursary. The facet bursary one, actually the deadline was last week already. However, if you meet the criteria, you are unemployed and you are below the ages of 35, or you are 35 and below, you can apply. Please email Care Student Support and they'll provide you with additional information which you may need to submit before the end of business today. And then how to apply for a bank SETA undergraduate bursary if you don't have a Facebook account. No. So like I said, nothing will be posted on Facebook. All advertisements will now go through my UNISA. So when you log on to my UNISA, you should be able to see the advertisement. We haven't advertised anything for bank SETA as yet. The only one which I just raised is a settlement of debt. If you do have questions on that one, please do send an email to carestudentsupport@unisa.ac.za. They will be able to assist you. Us who are over 35, how does the university assist us? I am not quite sure because I'm dealing with external funders, and the external funders are the ones that are saying we deal with those students who are 35 and below. However, if you are over the age of 35 and you do require assistance, you can send your email also to Care Student Support. They will forward it to me and I will share the information with the Dean or the Deputy Executive Dean. The facet application still open. Yes, I did answer that. I don't know if there's any other. Is Advanced Diploma in Accounting still SAICA accredited? I believe it would be, because then you would qualify for a postgraduate diploma, either CTA 1 or CTA 2, and then you will go and do the CTA, which leads you to qualifying as a CASA. They're asking me to share my email, or is it okay? I'll share my email address.
I think also the Care Student email that you mentioned.
That I mentioned. Okay, let me share the Care Student Support email address, and then I think they should be able to then. Yeah, I've shared it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think if the students have questions, then yeah, the email was shared. So let's forward those questions to that email. Thank you so much, Ms. Sibiela, for the information. I hope a lot of students will get assisted from the information that you shared. Also, there is a... Okay.
Thank you so much. Sorry, there's a question that says, hi, ma'am, could you please respond to this one? Can I have a look at that response? Okay. They're asking, do we have a program where you work and study? I'm not sure if I understand that specific question. Is the student asking if we have a program that caters for a student who is working and studying, or is it referring to something else? But what I've shared is that if you are working, for example, our academic support, yes, FACET will fund undergraduate students, will fund students who are 35 and below. However, we do provide access to all the students to attend those classes. So it's not just limited, even though the funder says it should be for 35 and below, lecturers do open it for everyone to attend the classes. I hope I answered your question correctly. Thank you so much. Simakaleng, I think I'm done. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. The email is there in the chat. So students do use that email, and then again, please evaluate and provide feedback on the workshop. There's a link there in the chat as well. Before you leave the session, students, please just do that. I just want to say thank you to all the speakers and the people who have attended. And with that, we have come to the end of today's workshop. I believe that we can all agree that the insights shared by our speakers have been incredibly valuable and inspiring. A big thank you to all our speakers for sharing their knowledge and experiences with us, to everyone who attended and the participants as well. To formally close off the program, I would like to invite Dr. Pitswani to deliver the vote of thanks. You are muted.
Oh, thank you. That is the voice or the face that will be doing a vote of thanks. Makaleng, thank you so much. Our program directors, Feli, as well as Makaleng, our team members, we are so thankful that you made it possible this day and ensured that our program runs smoothly, even though we are delayed. You know, those are some of the challenges that we meet, but we hope that in future we will do better. And I suppose that will be some of the remarks that you'll be sharing when you will be evaluating our program today. My appreciation is to the Dean of the College, Dr. Hlongwane, who welcomed each and everyone here today and gave you the brief background of how the accounting profession actually has evolved. And Megan, the strategist, she was very engaging, and really, I think we have learned a lot from her, where she highlighted the fact that when you are a data analyst, you must make sure that you protect the data of the company. Of course, that is what we need to practice in our day-to-day life, in every kind of a work situation. That's what we need to do. And we had Gottlieb, very vibrant lady, who spoke to us about the importance of tax. Now we know why the government is charging us tax, so we shouldn't be complaining. That's the information that we have learned at our age. We have also learned a lot on that. And a journey on CA by Malibongwe, we appreciate you. You have given our students, because most of our students are really interested in that profession. I suppose you have taken notes, you know exactly where you are going from now. And Rendani, one of our former student mentors, we really are thankful that you always raise your hand to come and share information of being an auditor. Now you know that if you take that profession, you won't be regarded as a police. You are only helping the people to audit their companies and know what they need to do going forward. And we had Zwela Kezweli, also one of our former students, of course, who also shared information on management accounting as a profession. He did a great job and we appreciate him. He came just on a short time and shared information on us. And one of our own, Seko, for sharing the information of the bursaries that are available for our students. We are very thankful for having done that. And to everybody, our students for having attended, we are trying our best as the counseling unit to really equip you with the skills in all the professions. And tomorrow, as they have indicated, there will be a workshop on the seminar on accounting, whereby we are going to have different employers who will be sharing information and guiding you on CV writing, guiding you on how to present yourself in an interview. We hope that you'll be able to attend that session so that you can gain valuable information. And on that note, to everybody who worked behind the scene, our colleagues who organized the speakers, we are so very thankful for you. And we hope that this was a very interesting and informative session. On that note, thank you so much. Have a great day and a blessed day further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleagues. Thank you so much to our students. Please don't forget to fill in the evaluation. Thank you to my co-host, Simakaleng. And like she said, we have reached the end of our workshop. We hope to see you tomorrow for the accounting employability seminar. And yeah, that's it from my end. Have a lovely day ahead. Bye.